Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining the NACTA webinar series. Today, our special guest is Jeffrey Holtrop. He is the Senior Sales and Marketing Manager for AAT Kings. They are a NACTA member, and I'm very excited about having Jeffrey on our webinar today. Many of you have met him throughout a variety of NACTA events. He is a huge supporter of travel agents, and I'm really looking forward to what he has to say. Just want to remind everybody you are on mute, and that is so that there's no background sounds that will occur during this recording. We will put it up on the NACTA YouTube site, and for those who are attending the webinar today, you will receive a link that will take you directly to the webinar. For those of you who are listening to this afterwards, you have already received that link. I also want to remind everybody just to sign up for the NACTA YouTube page and channel. That way you keep in touch with all the webinars that we have going. And also Lisa Watson from time to time will put some special tutorials on there that you don't want to miss. So I'm going to take myself offline. I'm going to put myself on mute. I will be back at the end when we have a Q&A session. So if you do have any questions for Jeffrey during his presentation, please put them into the question box in the panel on the far right-hand side, and I will ask them at the very end. So Jeffrey, I'm turning the reins over to you now, and I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say.
Okay, well, thank you, Lorraine. And good morning and good afternoon to everybody throughout the United States there. I'm calling you from Chicago, and wanted to let you know a little bit about the presentation that we're going to be talking about today. It's an escorted primer for AAT Kings. So this is really an entry-level information on Australia and New Zealand. So let's get started. First off, I always like to do a picture of myself, and I have been with NACTA for several years now, so some of you may recognize me. My contact information is on the lower left-hand side there, jeffrey.holtrop@aatkings.com, if you need to reach me. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to talk about pre-planning, and these are just some of the facts that you're going to be dealing with your clients. And again, this is very much a primer. So we're going to be talking about visa requirements, flying times, the seasons, climate, money, and a thing I like to say, is it really that big? Okay, so first is a visa. We're going to be talking about Australia and New Zealand visas for U.S. and Canadian citizens. They would need a visa for Australia. It's called Subclass 601, and that costs about $20 Australian, which is right around $14, $15 US. Okay, that will hold them for about 90 days for a visit, so the typical holiday visit there. In New Zealand, U.S. and Canada are waive countries for stays less than 3 months. They only would need to do the arrival card. Now, let me just also say there's so many variables with the different passports, so please check your client's specific needs. Also, if they're traveling, if they're mixing a business trip with this, they might have different visa requirements. So please check on that for your specific client. Next, pre-planning. This is the Australia gateways that we have available to us through the United States and Canada. Now, the little plane there in the little bottom left corner, that's Sydney, Australia. So you can see from Los Angeles, San Francisco, Honolulu, and Vancouver, you're right around 14 to 15 hours flying time, nonstop from there. From New York City, they do have a connecting flight, goes New York, LAX to Sydney. Flying time total is about 22 hours. So this is a little bit of a long flight. If you have a client that says, for example, that it's something a little bit too long, you can definitely take a look at Hawaii with a stop there. It's 10 hours away there. Hawaiian Airlines does that. So that is also a great little stopover for clients. It makes it a little bit easier to travel if you have that particular client that raises the objection for the flying time. The next one is New Zealand. Now, New Zealand, you'd be flying into Auckland. Our gateways here in the U.S. are San Francisco, Los Angeles, Houston, and again, Hawaii area. Okay, and it's a little bit shorter here, being about 12 to 14 hours. Now, again, you're going to get clients that are going to say to you, boy, that's a long trip. I want to go there, but boy, it's long. A great way to sell this for your clients, it's a movie, a meal, and a nap. Okay, I've done the trip several times, and it actually is not that bad at all. So it's definitely well worth it once you're there. Let's talk a little bit about our climate here. Now, the real interesting thing when you compare Australia and New Zealand versus a U.S. are the climates are the exact opposite of each other. So, for example, their summer is December through February. That means you literally can spend Christmas Day on Bondi Beach in Sydney. I attended a FAM in New Zealand in the autumn. It was late April and May, and the weather there was in the 60s and 70s. So I just want to let you know, in terms of the real cold weather, both Australia and New Zealand, aside from the mountain locations, do not have a lot of snow. When you go over to Ayers Rock, Uluru, it can get cold in the desert in the winter. But really, for winter temperature climate, you're going to be looking at a temperature probably in the 50s and 60s as kind of a benchmark there. So this is really great, too, for you have clients, for example, it's winter here, and they're looking for a nice warm destination, looking for something different. Okay, the currency. Now, this is really one of the amazing things that's going on right now. Our U.S. dollar is buying 30 to 35% more. Okay, so when you make a comparison on the exchange rates, if you see that in the lower corner there, it's $1 equals 130 Australian dollar and 135 New Zealand dollars, and I just got those numbers today. So you can see your U.S. dollars really do go a long way there in Australia and New Zealand. So it's definitely a great value for clients right now, especially as we go into the new brochure seasons, new booking seasons. It's definitely something to make this suggestion for somebody who's looking for something different to really point out that currency value. Now, as I mentioned, size does matter. When you take a look at Australia as an overlay to the U.S., you can see they're pretty much somewhat of the same size. Okay? The point that I really do want to make here is do not overplan your clients. Within the different states and territories of Australia, you only want to pick 1, 2, or 3 of the most, depending on how long your clients are staying there. It really is a lot of travel time between the different destinations. So really do a lot of planning for your clients and just make sure that they're very specific in what their needs are, and don't try and overbook them. Okay, and don't let them, for example, say, well, I want to do Sydney and Perth, which are on opposite ends of the country. Okay, the time factor there can really be an issue. Okay, so here is the Australian map and a lot of the different scenic sites that are available to us. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I did want to let you know, just to kind of give you an idea, okay, the flying times in Australia. For example, going cross-country, it's like you're flying from San Francisco to Columbus. It's about a 5-hour flight going across. Okay? Going north to south, it's basically flying from Vancouver to Houston, basically a 4.5-hour flight. So as you can see, by the sites on this map here, the distance between them can be substantial. Now we're going to talk a little bit about AAT Kings itself, and we're going to talk a little bit about our history, my managing director, the people, our motor coaches, our stress-free vacations, and we're going to make some comparisons, escorted versus non-escorted, and then a little bit about Tread Lightly. So our history. We started off in 1912, and it was the Pike family first started and was in Sydney. We grew from a 7-person bus through the 1960s and became Sydney's largest tour operator. In the 1980s, we teamed up with Bill King. Now, Bill King was an expert on the Outback, the Northern Territory, and that's how we became AAT Kings. Okay? Today, we're known as one of Australia's favorite guided holidays company. This is a message from my managing director. Really is very important because it really lays out the story about us and what we do. Okay, our people are warm and friendly and engaging, but the point that I want to make to you is the last sentence there. We love a good laugh and a great story. We bring Australia and New Zealand to life. Now, why is that so important? And it's because that our people make the difference. And it really is that you're not just seeing Downunder, you're experiencing it. Now, how do we do that? Each of our travel directors are experts in the areas that they're in. A lot of them are born and raised in the area that they're covering. So, for example, they're giving your clients hidden gems, for example, something typically that somebody does not know about the destination. For example, there may be a hidden waterfall or some interesting cultural or historical facts about the site that you're in. That's what makes our people really make the difference, and it's so important. When you make that comparison between somebody who's doing an escorted program with AAT Kings versus doing a self-drive, that can make a world of difference. Most of the people that are traveling to Australia, we find, are they can be doing it multiple times, but for most times we hear that it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Now our motor coaches. Okay, this is just an example of some of the coaches that we have. In the top left corner is our main type of coach, and it holds between 50 and 58 people, depending on its size there. There's a couple of sizes there. As we go down lower, this is for our IJ product. Now, our IJ, we'll talk about the different tours that we have a little bit later. The main picture there is an interior shot. You can see they are nice seats there. There is a little square, if you can see there. That is a bathroom. There is also a water fountain there. They have footrest. There's Wi-Fi on board as well. These buses are very comfortable coaches. Now, a little bit about the King's escorted programs versus an independent travel program. Okay. Now, what I think is the most important thing here is, of course, it's included what's not included, but if you could take a look at some of the sightseeing options, and I think this is in conjunction with our people, we have knowledgeable travel guides included, in-depth sightseeing and local guides, and VIP entry to attractions. For example, when they're doing it independent, there's no local experience, expertise, or assistance. You're using guidebooks, you don't have that VIP entry, you're waiting in line, and there can be limited understanding of the sites. And that's why AAT Kings really is a great option. Let me make a suggestion to you for those people that you have a client and this is the first time that they're going to Australia or New Zealand. It really does make a lot of sense to put them in an escorted program because they can learn so much more about the history, the culture, the cuisine, all the hidden attractions. They do have you're invited type experiences as well. All that combined for somebody who's going there on a first-time experience, it really does make a lot of sense. If your client does want to do an independent program, it would be more, I would say, in line with somebody who's doing it for a second time period. If they really have gone there, they did an escort program, they said, I love it, I want to go back to Australia, that's when you can really take a look at an independent program and say, okay, yeah, let's do something like this and focus a little bit more on what some of the intricate programs that they want to do independently. But guided programs, and we'll talk again about the guided programs that we do have in just a few moments, but guided programs are really going to help your clients out quite a bit. Now we have Tread Lightly. Now Tread Lightly is basically our partnership with the Irwin family in Brisbane, Australia. They are in conjunction with the Brisbane Zoo there. And it's just an environment function that we have with the Travel Corporation to save our environment. This is just to show you that we do a lot of programs environmentally concerned. Okay, now we're going to start going into the specific tours and talk a little bit specifically about some of the key iconic sites in Australia and New Zealand, and we're going to also talk about just a couple of the tours that we do have available for you. So here we're going to be looking at Uluru, the Great Barrier Reef, the Opera House, and then in New Zealand, Queenstown, Milford Sound, and Rotorua. Now this is the first tour that we're going to be talking about, and this is, I bring this one up because this is one of our most popular tours for the US and Canadian markets, and it's the Australian Highlights. Now this is a 13-day program, and it's priced just over $4,000 per person, twin share, and this is land only. Now you're going to start off in Melbourne. Now Melbourne is kind of an old world charm, artistic type city. I like to make a comparison. For example, it's a little bit like Charleston here in the United States. It has that old world feeling about it. Very artistic, as I said. Also, there are the near there the 12 Apostles as well. It's a great drive along the southern coast of Australia, and it's definitely something that's a very exciting thing for your clients to witness. The rock formations along the coastline. Now from Melbourne you're going to fly over to Ayers Rock, which is Uluru, making visits over to Alice Springs, Kata, the Algas as well. Now this is, we're going to be spending about 3 days there. Now this is very much the outback, so Red Rock country, if you will. From there you'll be flying over to Cairns, and that's just where the Great Barrier Reef is. Now this is a great place for your snorkelers and your divers. And then lastly you would be flying back to Sydney, okay, as your final stop. Again, a 13-day program. So as I mentioned, the Ayers Rock, Uluru, this is a photo of it, and this is right in the center of Australia. It's a big monolith rock there. A lot of people ask me, can you climb it? Yes, you can, but we do not advise doing it. The indigenous cultures there ask us not to have your clients do that out of respect for their culture. There are walks around there. The walks are about 9 kilometers, I believe it is, and it can take a little over an hour and a half to do it. I believe it is. So here in the summer it can be very warm. The best time of year to go here is spring, fall, and winter. Along with that, we also have the Aussie BBQ here. Now this is a great program. Uluru, in fact, is in a national park. When sunset hits, the park closes, but we have a setup where we have a barbecue for your clients, and this is an add-on to the trip itself, okay, where your clients would be enjoying, for example, Australian prawns, beef, some local cuisine there, as well as Australian wines. So a great little experience. Now, what really is unique about this is there's not a lot of lighting in the area. So as the sun is setting, you really get to see some great stargazing. So this is a great opportunity for those people who like the great outdoors, for those people who enjoy barbecue activity and kind of want a little bit of just a smaller group type of activity. Next is a program that we have available going on, and this is by Bruce Monroe. He's a British artist, and he deals in large-scale illuminations. It's called the Field of Light. Now, this is over at Uluru right now. The program started in March-April timeframe, and it's going to go on for a year. There are approximately 50,000 stem frosted spears installed all over Uluru. And for those people who are artistically minded, this is a great scenic opportunity all throughout the Red Rock Desert area of Uluru. Okay. Now, that price there, we've just reduced the price to $66 US per person. So that price is incorrect. Sorry about that. But this is a great thing for those people, as I said, that are very artistically minded. Okay, going on with the next site would be Queensland, and this is the Great Barrier Reef. And this is actually a couple of pictures that I took myself when I was there. Now, there's a couple of options for you when your clients are going there doing snorkeling, diving, okay? First off, you do leave from Cairns. It goes out for about 2 hours, goes out into the reef area, so you are very far out into the water. In the lower corner there, you can see that's simple snorkeling that we have available. It is in a protected area, so you don't necessarily have to worry about any type of large fish coming at you, if you know what I mean, any kind of shark, anything like that. We do advise, when I was there, they did advise you to wear a wetsuit. You can rent them there, and if I recall, it was $8 to rent them for a couple of hours. And the reason for that is there are little small things that can, the little eels, I believe they are, that can get under your suit and can bite you there. But they are very small. The best thing to do definitely is to consider the wetsuit. The other option, and you can see on the photo here that we have, is this is a bicycle type of activity where your clients are sitting on a bike. They do have a person who is underwater with them. This is great for somebody who cannot swim, is a little bit nervous. This contraption, the headset goes right over your head. You do not have to be an expert in any kind of underwater snorkeling or diving per se. So this is a great way to experience the underwater activity for those people who are a little bit nervous about the water. You'll have somebody with you. Now we also have going to be expanding out and doing diving as well, and that's the along with that picture, somebody in the dive suit there, and you would have to be qualified to do that. That is going to be coming up with our new brochure launch, which is going to be in late October, early November. For those people who do like a swim, those people who like snorkeling and diving, Queensland is a great stop. It is an all-day activity. You're also on a barge. They do serve lunch there. A great opportunity to get in and out of the water. Lots of great food. Our next stop there is Sydney. Now this is also a picture that I took. This is the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge. As you can see in the picture, middle picture towards the left side is the Opera House there. You're looking at downtown Sydney, and then the Harbour Bridge is towards the right side. First off, you can climb the Harbour Bridge. Depending on the time of the day and the season, just know for your clients that the climbing of the Harbor Bridge can be fairly expensive. We do not do it ourselves. It is a third-party group that does it, okay? But we do provide access to it. For example, our drivers would take you there, for example, but it is a third party. And it is anywhere, I'm going to give you an estimate, anywhere between $250 and $350, depending on the season and the time of the day that you're going. So it is US dollars, that is, so or it can be somewhat a little bit expensive. Just know that. You can also see that there is the port there. You can see a ship right in the center of the picture there. This is the Darling Harbor area. This is great for restaurants, museums, nightlife. Lots of activities are all held here. There's also some great hotels in the area, which we do a lot of pickups for our day tours and our short breaks as well. Also off to the left side there is the Botanic Gardens, which gives you a great view of the house. Sydney is definitely a great place to visit for the first timer. You can also go to, as part of our tours, we do have stops over in Bondi Beach and Manly Beach. Now, Bondi and Manly, Bondi Beach especially, is where the rich and famous go for beach time. They are along the coast area, very beautiful scenic areas. Also here in the Sydney area is the Hunter Valley. That is where you have wineries comparable to Napa Valley, for example. Great opportunities for that. There's Port Stevens, which has the dunes. You can do dune riding, a little bit geared more for the younger crowd, but I did do that. It was a lot of fun. There is reptile parks there as well. So there are lots of different things that you can spend time in Sydney. I would encourage your clients to spend a couple of days either pre or post of a tour that they can have a look at some of the different things. But we do have a lot of great day tours and short breaks that cover a lot of the things that I have just mentioned to you. Okay, now we're going to cover a little bit of New Zealand. Now, New Zealand is, again, just like Australia, it can be somewhat surprising between the sites. Roughly about 900 miles tip to tip, okay? And it's separated by two islands. The North Island, which is kind of like a rolling hills, if you will. Very, very beautiful rolling hill type terrain area, a little bit subtropic north of Auckland there. That's the Bay of Island areas. As you move south to the South Island, this is where it can become a little bit of coolness, where you have the glaciers, and you also have some of the old world charm of New Zealand, and especially that would be in the Queenstown area and Dunedin as well, and that's the lower corner along towards the right side. You can see that city there. Very beautiful cities that they have there, a lot of great scenery on the South Island. Comparing the two, the South Island is going to be a little bit more mountainous, I believe a little bit more scenic than the North Island, but it really depends on what your clients are going to be looking for in terms of specific scenery. For example, for those people who are fans of Lord of the Rings, a lot of that area is available on the North Island. I did go to the Lord of the Rings site, which was absolutely amazing. And I'm not really a big Lord of the Rings fan, but for somebody even who has not ever done the movies, I have done the movies now, but if you haven't done the movies, you still can go and really appreciate the scenery there and the stories behind it. Wellington, which is at the tip of the North Island, the southern part, there also has a museum that's dedicated to the Lord of the Ring movies. Okay, Rotorua is also on the North Island as well, and we'll talk about Rotorua in just a second. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of specific scenery things in New Zealand. First item is Queenstown. Now, Queenstown is along the southern island of New Zealand. It is known very much as an active type of vacation. This is where bungee jumping was developed. They also have a lot of different things that you can do along in the mountain areas. There was gold panning I did, hiking along in the mountain areas. It's very much an active type of vacation for those people who seek thrill seekers. They also have the jet boats that do the 360 turns there as well. Again, a very active type of vacation. Our Best of New Zealand covers just about all of New Zealand, and this happens to be the tour that I went on. And this is an 18-day program. Pricing is just over $5,200 per person, twin share land only. Now here, from the United States, you would be landing in Auckland, New Zealand. You would spend a couple of days in Auckland total. You'd go north to the Bay of Islands. There is a lighthouse at the very tip of the North Island, and that's where the Tasman mixes with the ocean there. The Tasman Sea mixes with the Pacific, and it is, the water churns there. It's absolutely an amazing sight. Moving down the Watamo Caves, this is where the glowworms are. And as I mentioned, we also have Rotorua. Rotorua is where the bubbling earth is, the geysers, if you will. Okay. Moving down, we have Wellington there. Wellington is the capital of New Zealand. It's a little bit smaller, very quaint city. Has very much museums. There is very much one of the kind of the capital culturally for New Zealand. Moving into the South Island there is towards the northern part is where you're going to have a lot of the wineries. Now, New Zealand is known for some great wine. If you have clients that are interested in wines, there's great opportunities there. Moving down towards the south, there's a couple of things that I did want to point out, and we'll cover them. One is the glacier, the Franz Josef Glacier, the Milford Sound, and then Christchurch. Christchurch was recently hit several years ago by an earthquake, and the city itself in downtown area still shows some of the signs of the earthquake, but on the outskirts, the city is very beautiful. Now, we do stops in Christchurch, and a lot of people ask, why are we still doing this if it still shows some of the signs of the earthquake? And that is because really the people of Christchurch really needs our help in redeveloping their city. It's a very beautiful, very clean city. The botanic gardens there are absolutely wonderful. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the sites that I mentioned. The Milford Sound. Now, Milford Sound is along the South Island towards the very bottom. This is a beautiful scenic area, as you can see by this picture. We do take you out on a boat. You do go through several waterfalls, through several of the cliff areas, taking you out to the main Tasman area there. So it is a beautiful, beautiful scenic area. For those people who do like glaciers, the great outdoors, it's some great photography experiences as well. Next is Rotorua. Again, as I mentioned, Rotorua is the bubbling earth, the geysers. This is on the North Island, a very scenic area as well, some great photography opportunities. Now, the final tour that we're going to be looking at is a highlight of Australia and New Zealand. Now, this one is 22 days long, and it's priced around $6,700, just over $6,700 per person, twin land only. Now here you're going to be starting off over in Melbourne, and it's a combination of the two tours basically that we just talked about, and that would be Melbourne over to Ayers Rock, over to Cairns, and then over to Sydney, and then from there you would be going over to New Zealand and then tackling first off the North Island that you have with the Watermo Caves, Auckland, and Rotorua, and then moving down into the South Island, where you'll be looking at Queenstown, Christchurch, along with the Sounds area. Okay. I'll also mention one of the things too that we do, and this was if you have people who are train addicts that love training, they have some beautiful railroad opportunities there. The Transalpine goes right across the bottom island, and it goes from Arthur's Pass over to Christchurch. It goes through the mountains. You do a lot of overpass through water. A very beautiful area. They have trains that go on the North Island, the South Island, and across. New Zealand is really a great opportunity to do train riding. If you have clients that enjoy that type of thing, it's definitely an opportunity. Over in Australia, there is also that opportunity that goes straight over across the country. That is called the Indian Pacific. We have a tour that does that, and that would go from Sydney to Perth, where you would go a couple of days across the across Australia, and then there's also one that goes from Adeline over to Darwin, okay, with a stop over at Ayers Rock. Okay, that goes directly through the Northern Territory. So again, if you have clients that are interested in that type of thing, that opportunity is available as well. Okay, now what I'd like to do is take a snapshot of each of the different products that we have available and kind of make a description. Now this, ladies and gentlemen, is really going to be the most one of the most helpful things to you in terms of the primer. In kind of describing the types of tours that we have. Our first one is guided vacations. Now we break these off into two groups. One is a first choice and the other one is a best buy. Okay? Demographically, these are for people at about 45 years and up. Now the difference between these, basically the first choice and the best buy, are the inclusions. For first choice, there are more inclusions. Your hotel is going to be a little bit more centrally located within the city. For best buy, your clients are going to have more freedom to choose, okay? And your hotels would be centrally located, okay, conveniently located. That is really the big difference between the first choice and the best buy. For the tours themselves, a lot of the best buys and the first choice are going to the same types of sites, a lot of the same type of sites there. So it really is the type of amenities that your clients are enjoying on the tour themselves. Okay, that's the real big difference. Our next one is short breaks. Now, short breaks that we have is basically about as close as we come to an FIT program under an escorted program. Now, by that I mean is your clients have the ability to choose what they want to do. A short break is basically multiple day tours that are linked together. So your client under a short break, and a short break is typically around 3 to 7 days long. Your clients can choose, for example, to do one day, but not necessarily the next day. Okay? Now, the difference between a short break and a guided vacation is a couple of things. First off, under a guided vacation, they're going to have the same travel director every single day and the same driver every single day throughout their stay. With a short break, it can be different drivers every day. Also, under a short break, you also can have different guests every day that are on the tour versus a guided program when you're essentially with the same people every single day. Okay? Now, short breaks, the demographics for that are typically starting around 25 years and going up from there. So the short breaks tend to have a little bit more of a younger feel to them. Also, with the short breaks, as I said, the most important thing is your clients have a little bit more choice, and that would be in the accommodations. Under the stars, you can see it's 3 and 4 stars. Basically, what your clients can do is they can choose an upscale hotel, or they can choose a more moderately priced hotel, and that is the 3 and 4 star. So they get to choose the type of hotel that they want to stay at, and the price reflects that. Okay, so those are the essential differences between a guided program and a short break. Now the next one is a day tour. The day tour is just that, specifically 1 day long, okay, and it's focusing in on a specific tour option within a specific destination. For example, as I mentioned when we were talking about Sydney, Hunter Valley, which is the wine areas that we have there, which is north of Sydney. We have a day tour that goes out to the Hunter Valley, and you sample some great wines there. You have a great lunch. You're seeing some different sites there as well. So it's a 1 day program. These types of programs are typically all over the board in terms of age range. You can have younger people on board. That doesn't necessarily happen. With a Hunter Valley, for example, that would be adults only. But you can have a wide age spread on these types of tours. Okay? So day tours are focusing just on a specific site within a specific destination. Next is our Inspiring Journeys. Now, Inspiring Journeys is our 5-star product. This is essentially an upscale guided vacation. 5-star, and it is a smaller type group. It is very immersive. It's boutique style. With the guided vacations, you can have, on average, about 30 to 36 people on board a guided program. With an Inspiring Journeys, you're going to have anywhere between, on an average, 16 to 20. So it is a much more intimate type of vacation for your clients. Also, a little bit younger of a group as well, starting at around 35 years of age versus a guided program starting at 45 and possibly above. They can do a lot of the different or a lot of the same types of stops. So, for example, they would see in Sydney, they would see the Bondi Beach, the Opera House. There is going to be more inclusions also with an Inspiring Journeys as well. So basically, for your clients, this would be more of an upscale type holiday. You would be staying at the best available hotels in the area that you're visiting. Okay, depending on where you're visiting. For example, in the Northern Territory, the best available might be a 3 or 4 star hotel. That would be where you're staying. In Sydney, you would be staying at a very high-end type of hotel product. And the last one that we'll be talking about is the Aussie Adventures. Now, Aussie Adventures, we classified this as a 3-star. Now, Aussie Adventures is more of our budget-conscious type of product. So as you can see, we have Inspiring Journeys is high-end, middle of the road is Guided Vacations, and budget-minded is Aussie Adventures. Now, Aussie Adventures is more of affordable. The big difference between here and the Guided Vacations, for example, with an Aussie Adventure, you can be staying at a hostel, you can be staying at a lodge, you can even be staying in a tent. It depends on where you're going, where the tour is itself. But just keep in mind, it definitely is more of a budget conscious type product, and it's that for that reason you're going to tend to have a younger crowd on that particular tour. Okay, this pretty much covers all the different types of products that we have available at AAT Kings. And just to say, for the both countries that we have been talking about, we literally have hundreds of different tours that are available. Okay, this was a picture that I took, and this is the 12 Apostle areas. This was around the Melbourne area, very beautiful area, and I'm going to start ending my presentation here with any types of questions. So, Lorraine, if you could jump back in here, and if we have any kind of questions that you'd like to pose to me, that would be great.
Absolutely, we do have a couple. First question is, and it had to do with when you were talking about scuba. Is there a jelly season that people need to be a jellyfish season that people need to be aware of, so not to schedule their clients to go out there?
Yes, and that's when I said about the wetsuits. I wasn't specific about the jellyfish, but that is the concern that they have, and it can be it would be tend towards their spring summer time frame, which would be our winter. So it would be that where you'd be most concerned would be in the November, December, January type thing, going, their spring, summer.
Okay. Next question is you were discussing that there can be add-ons pre or post. This agent said they have a client who is interested in doing more of add-on for scuba diving, and would they be able to work with AAT Kings to be able to add on that sort of thing?
We actually have a new tour that's going to be coming out shortly that is going to include diving. And that is going to be, it's going to be an Inspiring Journeys, which is, again, the small groups that I was talking to you about. In terms of an add-on, that would be something that you could possibly add on when you would go to the snorkeling site. There was opportunities for people going through a third-party provider to do diving. Okay, snorkeling for our tours are included. The picture that you saw with the person on like the bicycle and diving, that would be an extra charge. And unfortunately, I do not know what those charges are.
Okay, perfect. The next question, what do you do as far as airfare for the tours?
In terms of airfare, okay, what we are doing, we quote everything on a land-only basis. We are now making a move over to where we can provide air quotes for the travel agents as well. So that is something that's going to be coming with our new brochure, which again is coming in next month. So what I would suggest for your clients, now what we have is guaranteed departures. You can look at the AAT Kings brochures and online, and you can see where we have the guaranteed departures. Some of the departures are based on availability, the number of people that are joining. In other words, they are not guaranteed. What I would suggest is if you have a client that is picking a time frame that is not a guaranteed departure, is that you book the tour first, wait for the confirmation, and then do the airfare.
Got it. Got it. I can put the URL for AAT Kings in the chat box. One of the questions that people were asking is, do you have an agent program that they should be signing up for, or how are they recognized as travel agents?
Okay, what we have, and this is for, I'm a member of this. There's a program through Tourism Australia and Tourism New Zealand, and it's basically for the Aussie program. It's called Aussie Specialist, and through that you work with Tourism New Zealand and you become a specialist, or I'm sorry, through Tourism Australia, and you become a specialist, an Aussie specialist. They have two types. One is a regular specialist and one is a premier specialist. The premier specialist is based on dollar volume of sales, okay? So you have to be selling Australia quite a bit to become a premier specialist. What we have had in the past, we are not doing this program currently, but we had an AAT Kings specialist program, which is basically where we were holding a class. You would become educated on the Kings product, and then we would list you on our website as a specialist, and when clients were coming on our websites, they could look up the travel agents that were an authority on the Kings products. Is that program still on? Yes, it is. If you go on the AAT Kings site, you can see on the bottom there, bottom of the page, there is a listing of travel agents. What we are doing, because we don't have the specialist program, you do have to become an Aussie specialist or a New Zealand specialist to get on board that. Okay? There is a possibility that we may be starting up the AAT Kings specialist program at a later date. Right now, there is no such plans.
Got it. Thank you so much. Last question that I have, and we're going to have to wrap it up, is one of the agents is asking, is AAT Kings able to work with clients with disabilities?
Yes, if you looked at the coach pictures that we had, we do have some coaches that do have lifts. Now, in every country, of course, the handicap accessibility is always going to be an issue. I would say to tell your travel agents out there and to tell for your clients is basically what difficulty your client does have, and then weigh those differences with our reservations department as those types of occurrences come up. So, for example, if somebody is in a wheelchair, mention to the wholesaler that you're working with or the reservation person that you're working with through the travel corp that that you have this type of instance and the type of tour that they're interested in, is it accessible?
That was the last question that I had. Oh, wait. Never mind. One more snuck in before the deadline. She asked, how do we book a group with AAT Kings? Okay.
You can contact our reservations department. You can also contact me. And again, my email address is jeffery.holtrop@aatkings.com. And if you have a group, we can get you a specific quote for what you're looking for.
Perfect, perfect. Well, I want to thank you again, Jeffrey, for all the love and passion that you put into your training and that you always show towards travel agents. We all know on both sides of the table it's tough. It's hard to be a tour operator, a marketing person from the tour operator, and also a travel agent. So we really appreciate it. I want to give one last shout out also to remind everybody that the NACTA conference for 2016 is right around the corner. I know, somehow it's just February, but really we're already looking at mid-September now. Don't know how that happened, but that means that the conference is about 6 weeks away. And it is November 3rd through 9th, and it is going to be held at the Westin Fort Lauderdale. January already. Let's try it again. November 3rd through 9th. First nights are going to be at the Westin. The last 3 nights are going to be on the Celebrity Infinity Cruise to the Bahamas. 3 nights. Go to the NACTA.com website to register if you haven't already. Also, mark your calendars already. Most of you should have bought your 2017 calendar. And our NACTA conference for 2017 is September 13th through 16th. That is a year and a week away, and it's going to be held at the Captain Cook Hotel in Anchorage, Alaska. Beautiful time of year to be there. Put it on the calendars now. You'll really want to go. We're giving everybody plenty of time to be able to plan ahead, save the date, and now you know where it is. And if you have time off, you can get to the West Coast. Absolutely, this is going to be worth it. So any last quick comments for you?
Well, I just wanted to say to all my NACTA friends out there, thank you so much for attending today. It's been great talking with you, and hopefully we'll meet each other again.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, this is being recorded. I will send out a link to everybody so that you can get to this recording for those of you who came a little bit late. Also want to encourage everybody to sign up and just subscribe to the NACTA YouTube site. It has its own channel. Whenever we have any of these webinars, they will be posted there. And also Lisa Watson, our marketing manager, will put some great tips and trips short videos up there also. Thank you again, Jeffrey. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.